Once again, good morning, distinguished CEOs, Chief Human Resource Officers, very important personnel in the room. Everyone is an important personnel. Special guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the CEO CHRO HRD Forum, organized by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management in Nigeria, known as the CIPM. And please, can we celebrate this institute? Today's theme, refocusing diversity inclusion from the CEOs and HR's perspective, could not be more timely. As we continue to navigate the evolving landscape, inclusion is now a strategic driver of innovation, collaboration, and sustainable growth. Today's forum provides everyone here a valuable opportunity to exchange ideas, challenge perspectives, to build a workplace where people and organizations can thrive. I'd like to thank you all for being here, for your commitment to shaping the future of work and people management in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome, and I wish you a truly engaging and impactful forum. On that note, I'd like to establish the protocol for today. And if your hands are not too busy, as I establish this protocol, I'd just like you to give your hands, round of applause to these wonderful individuals. To start on my list, I'd like to celebrate the president and chairman of the governing council of this amazing institute, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gober, FCIPM FNLI. Please, can we celebrate him? Please, I'd also like to celebrate here the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, MCIPM, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, Public Service Office, Mrs. Sukomi Oyegbola, FCIPM. In that same order, I'd like to celebrate the Vice President, Mrs. Chidima Obiejesi, FCIPM. Please, can we celebrate her? The National Treasurer, Mr. Adeyemi Ajayi, FCIPM, Chartered FCIPD. The Registrar Chief Executive, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, Chartered FCIPD. The immediate past president, Mr. Olusegun Majid, FCIPM, FNLI. I'd also like to recognize here seated elected council members and esteemed members of the governing council. Please, can we celebrate them? A lot of them are seated towards my right. Distinguished fellows of CIPM. I'd also like to celebrate our distinguished guest speakers seated here today. Mr. Roger Adu, Managing Director, Friesland Campina, WAMCO Nigeria PLC. You're welcome, sir. I'd also like to celebrate Dr. Mrs. Funke Adepoju, Director General, Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, ASCON. Please, on that same note, I'd also like to celebrate our panelist, Dr. Colin Enim, FCIPM, Vice President, Human Resources, West Africa, ISON Experiences. Distinguished guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to give yourselves a round of applause because you are here for a beautiful, beautiful experience. Please, if you don't mind, may we rise as we take the national anthem. Thank you very much. Please, may I have your seat. To continue in this line of event, please join me to welcome the Registered Chief Executive, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, Chartered FCIPD. Please, can we welcome her as she comes to the scene?
Good morning, everyone. Okay, that's not my good morning. Mr. President, is that your good morning? Good morning, everyone. For those that are joining us online, good morning. That's just a bit better, but we'll raise the temperature as we go along. I think we're still a bit cold. Should we turn up the heat in the room? Our beautiful people, you're looking beautiful, you're looking handsome, and we're glad to host you this morning. So can you smile? It doesn't cost you anything to smile. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. The President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobrel, FCIPM, FNLI. The representative of the Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, MCIPM, ably represented by our own Madam Suki, as I call her, our Permanent Secretary, our FCIPM as well. The Vice President, Mrs. Chidima Obiejesi, FCIPM, National Treasurer, Mr. Adeyemi Ajayi, FCIPM, Chartered FCIPD. Our immediate past President, Mr. Olusegun Mojid, FCIPM, FNLI. Elected council members here present. Distinguished fellows of the Institute here present, our esteemed members of the Governing Council, our convener for today, Dr. Arabi, FCIPM, the chairman of the Public Policy and Advocacy Committee. Our guest speakers, Mr. Roger Adu, Managing Director of Ruslan Campina, WOMCO, Dr. Mrs. Funke Adepoju, Director General, Administrative Staff College of Nigeria. Our panelist, Dr. Colin Enim, FCIPM, Vice President, Human Resources and West Africa, ISON Experiences. All our guests, all our members, all our special guests, the chief executives, the chief HR officers, our director generals, our permanent secretaries, our heads of service. You're not even saying anything. You're not clapping for yourselves. I'm celebrating you, so you need to celebrate yourselves as well. Members of the press, my own team, CIPM HQ team. I can't hear you. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And I have to mention as well, so I don't get queried, the head of service of Lagos State, Mr. Bodia Guru, MCIPM, is also ably represented by Mrs. Olasunkomi Oyebola, sorry, FCIPM. So I must mention, because I don't want him to say he's signed in his membership of CIPM as well. Thank you, Mrs. Oyebola, for taking both roles and also being our own fellow of the Institute. We're proud of you. Thank you very much. Good morning once again, and welcome to our own CEO, CHRO, HRD, Permanent Secretaries, HOS Forum, with the theme, Refocusing Diversity and Inclusion from the CEO and HR's perspective, holding today, and it's a hybrid event. So we have quite a few people joining us online as well. Holding today, Thursday, 16 July 2026. And at this point, I would ask that we all please rise and join me as we take the Institute's Code of Conduct. If you're not a member of the Institute, you will still rise, but you cannot take this. Although I've got my membership team looking out for you, because I'm very keen to welcome you as members of CIPM. So my team, watch out for them. So you recite after me, and when you get to I, you'd insert your name and your membership grade. Can I have one or two people on mute online, please, so I can know I'm being followed? Thank you. Our Code of Conduct. The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria.
The Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria.
As the apex regulatory body.
As the apex regulatory body.
For human resource management practice in Nigeria.
For human resource management practice in Nigeria.
Is committed to the highest possible standards.
Is committed to the highest possible standards.
Of professional conduct.
Of professional conduct.
And competency among its members.
and competency among its members.
Therefore, as the member of the
As
institute,
possible
I
standards of
Therefore,
members.
as a member of the Institute, I, Emmanuel Olukayobe
Therefore,
Akinwele,
pledge that I shall at all times
as a member of
pledge
this,
that
I
at all times
carry out my duties and responsibilities
carry out my duties and
pledge that
responsibilities
with integrity and diligence,
carry
with
out
integrity and diligence,
my
demonstrate
duties and
competence and ethical behavior
demonstrate competence and ethical behavior
in all my business,
in all my business,
professional,
professional,
and personal activities,
and personal activities,
respect the laws of the land,
respect the laws of the land,
promote,
promote,
professional,
encourage,
encourage,
and in place acceptable processes
and in place acceptable processes
and procedures in the practice of human resource management
and procedures in the practice of human resource management
within my sphere of influence.
within my sphere of influence.
Endeavor to make personal decisions
Endeavor to make personal decisions
after considering all options,
after considering all options,
of which resignation may be one,
of which resignation may be one,
in defense of this code of conduct.
in defense of this code of conduct.
Where there are conflicts
Where there are conflicts
between my professional obligations
between my professional obligations
and the expectations of my job roles.
and the expectations of my job roles.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, man. You may be seated.
Thank you very much to our registered chief executive. Again, you're welcome to this amazing event. Quickly, would like to recognize some dignitaries that we have in our midst. Please join me to celebrate Dr. Dazuki Arabi, FCIPM, Chairman, Public Policy and Advocacy Committee, and also the committee in charge of this wonderful program. Please can we celebrate him? You're very much welcome, sir. Please also join me to welcome and celebrate Miss Amina Oyagbola, founder, Whisker, Women in Successful Careers, FCIPM. All right, on that note, I'd like to say something quickly that one of the things favorite quotes that I learned from Peter Drucker is that leadership is not just about making speeches or being liked. Leadership is about results. If there's anything that we've learned from this institute or we've seen in the past couple of years is that we've seen results that are visible to everyone. Growth is one of the things that we're proud of. And just like John Masquez said, everything rises and falls on leadership. I am proud this morning to say that we don't just have a leader who makes speeches in the CIPM, we have a leader who cares about results. Please, a round of applause. And it is on that note that I would like to say he's not just a leader, he's someone who cares about people. He's someone who cares about lifting people up. You don't meet him and remain the same. Please join me this morning as I welcome the president and chairman of the Governing Council of CIPM, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobe, FCIPM, FNLI, for his welcome address. A round of applause, please, if you don't mind. Let us hand go as we welcome him here.
Thank you, Brad. The representative of the government of Lagos State, the last one from me, Bola, FCITL, aka Suki. The vice president of our institute, Mrs. Chidima Justina Obiejesi, FCIPM, our national treasurer, Sade Emi Ajayi, FCIPM, Chartered FCIPD. The Registrar and Chief Executive, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, Chartered FCIPD. Our immediate past president, brother and longtime friend, Mr. Olusegun Majid, FCIPM, FNLI. Distinguished elected council members, other esteemed members of the Governing Council of our institute, distinguished fellows of our institute, and let me particularly recognize our elected council members who are here, Dr. Michael Ogu, MCIPM, Hajia Saadatu Farouk, MCIPM. I'm sure the others are joining us online. Our distinguished guest speaker, Mr. Roger Adu, Managing Director, Queensland Campina Wamco Nigeria PLC. Thank you for honoring us. Our esteemed guest speaker, I understand she's on her way here, Dr. Funke Adepoju, Director General, Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, ASCON. Our distinguished panelist, Dr. Collins Anim, FCIPM, Vice President, Human Resources, ISON Experiences, West Africa. My longtime friend and brother, Dr. Desuki Ibrahim Arabi, FCIPM, Chairman of the Public Policy Advocacy Committee, who are the conveners of this event. Dr. Arabi and I learned to crawl together back in our days in ABU in the early 80s. Another ABU alumna, my older sister and longtime friend, Mrs. Amina Oyagbola, FCIPM, founder and convener of WISCA, distinguished members of CIPM, distinguished chief executive officers, directors general, heads of service, permanent secretaries, chief human resource officers, human resource directors, human resource managers, and all our participants joining us physically and virtually. Other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. Permit me to begin this welcome address by borrowing from that timeless African proverb, which says, when the head is right, the body will not struggle to find its direction. This is because the future of every organization is determined long before strategies are written or markets are conquered. It begins in the minds of its leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, organizations do not transform themselves. Leaders do. Innovation is not a software. Diversity is not a policy. Transformation is not a slogan. They are all leadership decisions. The organizations that will dominate tomorrow are not necessarily those with the biggest capital or the tallest buildings or even the most sophisticated technology. They will be the organization whose leaders possess the courage to rethink, to relearn, to unlearn, and even lead differently. That is precisely why we are gathered here today. We're not here merely to fulfill the obligation of hosting another executive event, because Dr. Arabi and his team are very good at organizing events. We are not here because it looks good on the calendar of the Institute, ably led, of course, by the Registrar and CEO. We are here because we recognize a simple but profound truth. Every meaningful organizational change begins at the leadership table. If innovation must succeed, leadership must innovate first. If diversity must thrive, leadership must embrace it first. If culture must change, leadership must model it first. Because people rarely rise above the convictions of those who lead them. Ladies and gentlemen, The World Economic Forum continues to identify creativity, innovation, analytical thinking, resilience, emotional intelligence, and leadership among the most valuable capabilities for the future workforce. At the same time, numerous global studies consistently show that organizations with diverse leadership teams make better decisions. They are more innovative and are more likely to outperform financially than organizations where diversity is. You may ask why. It is because diversity is not merely about representation. It is about perspective. Innovation happens where different experiences collide. Progress, as a matter of fact, begins where different ideas meet. Great organizations are built when different voices are allowed to speak around the same table. Innovation without diversity simply becomes repetition. Diversity, on the other hand, without inclusion is a decoration. Leadership without innovation and diversity is in itself stagnation. That is why today's conversation is very strategic. As CEOs and HR leaders, your partnership has never been more important. The CEO determines where the organization is going. HR determines whether the people can successfully get there or lead the organization there. So while one provides direction, the other provides the competencies and the capabilities that are required to get there. One creates vision. The other builds the workforce that delivers the vision. Neither succeeds without the other. That is precisely why we have both CEOs and HR leaders gathered here today. At CIPM, we do not merely advocate diversity, we live it. We believe diversity should never be reduced to numbers or quotas. It should be reflected in opportunity. It should be reflected in leadership. It should be reflected in participation. Within our institute, we continue to build leadership structures and professional platforms that reflect our national diversity, bringing together individuals from different geopolitical zones, genders, generations, industries, professional backgrounds, and experiences. We are equally intentional about creating opportunities for persons living with disabilities and ensuring that inclusion remains an enduring principle of our governance. But let me emphasize this. Inclusion must never come at the expense of competence. Our philosophy is simple. Merit remains our foundation. Diversity broadens the table, and excellence determines who sits at the table. When diversity and competence work together, organizations become stronger, more innovative, and more sustainable. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me at this time to also remind us that human resource management in Nigeria is no longer an optional professional activity. It is a regulated profession. And I think as CIPM, we are proving that and leading that charge. The CIPM is the only statutory regulatory body established by an act of parliament to regulate the practice of human resource management in Nigeria. This means that anyone practicing HR professionally should be certified by the CIPM. We are particularly delighted that the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation has recently reinforced this position through a circular requiring heads of HR and administration across the federal public service to obtain professional certification with CIPM. This marks another significant milestone in strengthening professionalism across the Nigerian workforce. But the responsibility does not end within the public sector. Private sector organizations equally have a duty to ensure that those entrusted with managing their greatest asset, their people, are professionally certified and qualified to do so. Every CEO should know who shapes their organizational culture. Every organization should insist on professional standards. If your HR professionals have not yet commenced their CIPM certification journey, I encourage you as leaders to support and indeed mandate them to do so. Professional HR practice is too important to be left to chance. The future of your organizations depends on the quality of those entrusted with managing your people. And to every HR professional who is present here today, who has not yet become a member of the CIPM, let me respectfully say to you that this is your moment. Do not postpone your professional journey or future. Take action today. Join the Institute. Build your competence. Earn your professional license. Become part of the community that is shaping the future of people management in Nigeria. Before I conclude, permit me to express a sincere appreciation, particularly to our guest speaker, to the governor of Lagos State, who is ably represented by Igbola, to our discussants and panelists, to our distinguished CEOs, DGs, heads of service, permanent secretaries, CHROs, HRDs, business leaders, and professionals who are physically present here today. Thank you for making the time to be here, despite your very demanding schedules. Your presence speaks volumes about your commitment to strengthening leadership, advancing your organizations. To everyone joining us virtually from across Nigeria and beyond, we equally appreciate your participation. Distance may separate us physically, but it does not diminish our shared commitment to learning, innovation, and excellence. Thank you for choosing to lead change with CIPM. Thank you for recognizing that the organizations of tomorrow will be led by those who never stop learning today. Also allow me to extend specially to all of you our invitation to the 58th International Conference and Exhibition of the CIPM, which is coming up from the 21st to 24th September 2026 at the Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center in Abuja. Our theme for this year is repositioning value and impact. This conference, we all already know, is recognized as the largest HR conference and gathering in Africa. It is where global thought leaders, policymakers, business executives, HR professionals, innovators, and organizational leaders gather to shape the future of work. If your respective organizations are serious about remaining competitive, your leaders are serious about building future-ready organizations, and if your HR professionals are serious about staying relevant, then this is one event you simply cannot afford to miss. I encourage every CEO here present, every CHRO here present, to sponsor members of your executive team, your HR professionals, and your emerging leaders to join us in Abuja in September. The investment you make in developing your people will always yield returns greater than the investment itself. Over the next 3 hours, you have assembled some of the finest minds to challenge assumptions, to provoke fresh thinking via practical action. This will not be another conference where ideas end notebooks. Our objective this morning is that the ideas leave this room and become boardroom decisions. They become organizational policies. They become leadership actions. They become measurable results. So I crave your indulgence to stay with us throughout this journey today. Listen, question, challenge, learn, network, and share. I can assure you that the time you invest today will return to your organizations many times over. As I leave you with the words of leadership scholar Warren Bennis, leadership, the capacity to translate vision into reality. May today's conversations become tomorrow's innovation. May today's insights become tomorrow's competitive advantage. And may today's connections become tomorrow's transformational partnerships. Once again, thank you for honoring our invitation. Welcome to the CEO and CHRO HRD Forum. God bless you all.
Please, a round of applause for the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobir, FCIPM, FNLI. Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful address. One of the things I picked from what it said is that the CIPM doesn't just speak about diversity, it lives it. Thank you for reminding us that diversity may bring people to the table, but inclusion is what gives everyone a voice at the table. A powerful insight that I also learned from his address is that the future of an organization is determined by those entrusted to manage its people. And I see the room filled with people who have been entrusted to manage their people. Thank you once. Thank you again, sir. We'll celebrate you. Please, a round of applause for the President and Chairman of the Governing Council. Quickly, I'd like to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the partnership value on HMO. Please join me to welcome Mrs. Dotun Adeogun, FCIPM, MD CEO of Allmark HMO. A round of applause for her. It's Mrs. Dotun Adeogun, FCIPM.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to Mr. Chairman and other members of CIPM, elected council members, the executives, and my colleagues in human resources, my seniors, I can see you, and of course, our CEOs, as well as other HR leaders. HMO really, I would not say I'll talk about HMO, I'll just talk about health. I can see some of our partners here at the HMO. And just to let you know that we are partners today with CIPM on this program. And we have members of our team outside there who are ready to take your BP, check your BMI. These are vitals that you should be doing on a regular basis. I know, and we all know, that we are all here today, seated, because we are healthy. Some people cannot because they are not healthy. And the difference between the person that is healthy and the one that is not healthy could just be one health check. I can tell you, because I have an experience, that one time I went for my medicals and something was picked up. And quickly I was able to attend to it. Thank God that my organization has health insurance. They also have medicals for executives. I don't think there will be any organization here today that would not have medicals as part of the benefit of their executives. It should be a norm, because you cannot have a system working without people that are healthy running it. And being a CEO, I can tell you that there is a lot of pressure. So people face a lot of pressure. And you don't want somebody dropping down in the boardroom or in the management meeting. Therefore, you must put a lot of attention to ensuring that your staff are covered. Covered in terms of their health insurance, covered in terms of their medicals, annual medicals. And I know that some people don't like to take their medicals. They don't want somebody to tell them that something is wrong with them. So as HR people, you must enforce it that they go for their medicals. Even if they don't send the results to you, you must get a buy-in from a doctor that they are healthy, that they are fit. As I said, you don't want to have a risk on your fingers. There is a particular driver that is overaged in my organization, and I've told the HR that I'm giving her till the end of the year to replace him. And she said, he's very fit, he's very healthy. I said, Madam, he has a condition that is managing. If he does not take his drugs in 3 days, you can have an emergency on your hands. It can be going on Third Mainland Bridge, and then the person is driving, they all end up. So because of those things, I won't take too much of our time. Please take your time to come out and do your vitals and ensure that you have that system. And if you are one of those people that don't like to go for your medicals, please, today, As you go back to the office, go and book it and do it. Thank you very much.
That's Mrs. Dotun Adeogun, FCIPM, the MDC of Allmark HMO. Thank you for reminding us that health is what? Wealth. Can we echo it in the room? Health. All right. As we were taking that wonderful address from the MDC of Allmark HMO, we have one of our distinguished guest speakers walking. Please permit me to recognize Dr. Mrs. Funke Adepoju, Director General, Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, ASCOM. We are very privileged and happy and excited to see you here in the room. Thank you very, very much. All right. In that same order, please, I'd like us to take the goodwill message from the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, MCIPM, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, Public Service Office, Mrs. Sukomi Oyegbola, FCIPM. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Well, I bring you good tidings from Mr. Governor and CIPM, who sent his apologies. I'm sure we all know as HR practitioners that exigency of duty calls. So I'm here to represent him. And then before I go on, I would also like to say that the president of council was speaking to Mr. Governor's speech, which only speaks to the fact that we are all in sync as to what we mean by diversity inclusion. We are all on the same page. Thank you very much. So, out protocols, the President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Hamed Ladan Gobir, FCIPM, FNLI, the Vice President, Mrs. Chidima Obiejesi, FCIPM, the National Treasurer, Mr. Adeyemi Ajayi, FCIPM, FCPD. I don't mind my PRO. The Registrar and Chief Executive, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Nayo, FCIPF, FCIPD. The immediate past president, my dear brother, Mr. Olusegun Mojid, FCIPF, FNLI. All elected council members and the esteemed members of the governing council here present. Distinguished fellows of the Database of Management of Nigeria. Director General, my dear sister and friend from Tete, Dr. Funke Adepoju. Distinguished guest speakers and panelists, distinguished captains of industry, our distinguished virtual participants, distinguished invited guests, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Here is Mr. Governor's Kubir message. It is a pleasure to join this distinguished gathering of chief executives, human resource leaders, and captains of industry. And I thank the Chartered Institute of Management of Nigeria for the honor of this invitation. Few audiences here hold more direct influence over the working lives of Nigerians than the men and women in this room. And that is precisely what makes this forum worth convening. I congratulate the Institute on its standing as a chartered body regulating human resource practice in Nigeria, a mandate conferred by Act of Parliament and built on a proud history dating back to 1968. That standing now extends beyond our borders through mutual recognition agreements with the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development in the United Kingdom and chartered professionals in human resources in Canada. These milestones place Nigerian HR practitioners on a genuinely global stage, and they tell the world something we have long known at home, that Nigerian professionals, given the right institutions behind them, are second to none. The theme of this forum, Refocusing Diversity and Inclusion in the Organization, the CEO and HR's perspective, is indeed timely. The word Refocusing is well chosen. Diversity and inclusion have been part of the corporate conversation for years, and many organizations can point to policies, committees, and statements. Fewer can point to results. Refocusing, therefore, means asking a harder question beyond the language on paper. What has actually changed in who gets hired, who gets heard, and who gets promoted? I have no doubt that the conversations you hold today will move that question from the margins of the organization to the center of them. Lagos is proof of the value of that question. This city is home to people from every state of our country and beyond, working side by side in finance, technology, manufacturing, and the creative economy. And it succeeds because institutions, public and private, make room for difference rather than merely tolerate it. In Lagos State, we have sought to lead by example, from policies protecting the rights of persons with disabilities to programs widening access to employment and enterprise across gender and age lines. A city as varied as ours has taught us that inclusion is not a courtesy extended to a few. It is the operating system of any society that intends to prosper. But government policy alone cannot carry this work. Diversity and inclusion will not be won by conference resolutions. They will be won in the everyday decisions the organizations make. Who sits on the interview panel? Who gets sponsored for capacity building? Who gets promoted? And whose voice shapes the next strategy? Organizations that widen their talent pool and remove unnecessary barriers consistently outperform those that do not. Inclusion done properly is not a cost center. This is a source of competitive advantage, and the business that will lead the next decade are those whose leadership already looks like the customers and communities they serve. On this note, I want to commend CIPM for convening this important conversation, and I wish you rich deliberations and the most productive forum. The resolutions reached here today find their way into the boardrooms, the recruitment processes, and the promotion decision of tomorrow so that we can build a future-ready workforce. Thank you and God bless you. Abatili Luchola Sanwo-Olu, Governor of Lagos State. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for that wonderful goodwill message from the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, MCIPM, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, Public Service Office, Mrs. Sukomi Oyebola, FCIPM. Once again, I'd like to say that we're in here for a great and amazing time. I'd like to inform us that we are now moving from anticipation to insight. One of the key things that define leaders, not just in Nigeria, West Africa, all over the world, is that leaders pay attention to continuous learning. It's time to hear from leaders who are not only shaping conversations around people and performance, but are actually redefining what inclusive leadership looks like. Right about now, we're about to go into the keynote session from our first guest speaker. And join me as I read his profile. You have the brochure with you. It's on page 16 of the brochure with you. Mr. Roger Ado, Managing Director, Friesland Campaigner, Wamco Nigeria PLC. Mr. Roger Ado is a seasoned business leader with over 2 decades of experience and a distinguished track record of success in the African FMCG industry. His deep-rooted understanding of the region's dynamic, coupled with his multicultural adeptness, has enabled him to successfully navigate and lead diverse teams towards achieving strategic objectives. Mr. Roger was appointed as the Managing Director of Friesland Campaigner WAMCO Nigeria PLC in January 2024, and has since implemented several impactful initiatives that leverage strategic people management practices to drive business outcomes. Prior to his current role, he was the Regional Director for West Africa, overseeing a region comprising 18 countries. I thought you were going to put your hands together for that. In West and Central Africa, spanning from Senegal to the Republic of Congo, Brazzaville. Before joining Friesland Campaigner, Mr. Roger honed his expertise in the beverage industry through pivotal roles at the Coca-Cola Company and the Castle Group, a then Coca-Cola bottling company whose operations spanned 21 African countries. He's known for fostering cohesive and high-performing teams that drive organizational transformations. A strategic acumen combined with a relentless pursuit of excellence in execution has consistently delivered commendable business outcomes. Mr. Roger holds a Master of Science from ESCA Business School of the INPHB of Côte d'Ivoire and an executive MBA from the HEC Paris, France. Additionally, he is certified from the esteemed London Business School, UK, further augmenting his arsenal of leadership capabilities. His leadership prowess has earned him recognition, evidenced by his 3-time nomination in the top 200 Choiseul African leaders under 40 in the business sector by the esteemed French think tank, the Choiseul Institute. Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests here, as a welcome for the keynote session from our guest speaker on refocusing diversity and inclusion in the organization, the CEO and HR's perspective, Mr. Roger Ado, Managing Director, Friesland Campaigner WAMCO Nigeria PLC. Please a round of applause for him as he comes and sings.
Thank you very much, MC. Mr. Governor of Lagos, ably represented by Madam Permanent Secretary, dear Chairman of the Governing Council of the CIPM, distinguished members of the Leadership Committee and Council members of the CIPM, dear members of the CIPM, dear participants online and here in the room, I would like first of all to say a big thank you for honoring our company, Friesland Campaigner WAMCO, who's a maker of the Peak Dairy and the Free Crowns brand, to come and attend to this distinguished event. I had prepared a long speech, but I think that the governor and Mr. Chairman have stolen all of it. So I was wondering, what should I say that they haven't said already? But because it's about diversity and inclusion, which is a matter which is really important, I say, instead of reading the speech, let me spot some of the elements of my document and share that with you as an experience that we have as Friesland Campaigner WAMCO. First and foremost, diversity and inclusion. I'm addressing this distinguished audience, which are professional HR. So needless to say how important diversity is and inclusion also is for any company. At Friesland Campaigner WAMCO Nigeria PLC, inclusion and diversity is supported by clear policy and accountability. Research shows that diverse and inclusive teams often deliver better results. They offer innovation, and better decision-making. Our strategy is based on the belief that diverse teams perform best when everyone feels valued, respected, and included. And at Prison Campina WAMCO, we use data to guide our actions and decisions. We consider gender and nationality representation in our hiring processes, and we use targeted recruitment where needed. We also recognize that it's also important that representation into our extended supply chain. Maybe it's important to call out here that we are very much involved in backward integration as a company, supporting the dairy sector in Nigeria. And we have what we call our dairy development program. So even within our dairy development program, we make sure that there is a significant proportion of participating farmers that are women, helping us build stronger engagement with the community that we serve. At WAMCO, we view diversity and inclusion as one concept. Inclusive, diverse, so it's both combined. Because if diversity helps us determine who sits in the room, inclusion is important because it tells us who's taking the decision or who influences the decision-making process. So both are really important for us as a company. We believe that a diverse workforce is most effective when everyone feels valued, respected, and able to contribute. We have included it into our values, which is we act with respect. At Prison Campina, we've got 3 core values. One is we act with respect, we succeed together, and we aim higher. And that act with respect makes us being mindful and conscious not to rely on representation numbers alone as a measure of success. We've made progress in this area, both at our top leadership level, but also at our managing board level. It's a pity we had one of our board members, I think she's also a fellow of this institute, Madam Amina Oyagola, but she would have been there to testify that our board is composed, except for the chairman, half-half in terms of member, half men, half women. It's the same thing also if you're taking our extended management team, where basically we've got half of the population, which is men, and that other half, which is women. So women into our organization are holding key roles, like the one of Human Resources Director, Marketing Director, Executive Director of Corporate Affairs, Procurement Head, Internal Audit Head. So you see, this demonstrates that inclusion at WAMCO goes beyond representation to ensure diverse voices are heard, and these voices translate to real influence and purposive actions. It's really maybe important here to call out that it's been a deliberate process, because as a company, we have made a journey since we have identified a couple of years back that we cannot have the group thinking as one way to operate. We cannot exclude important part of the organizations, not to bring discipline at the table and to be able also to contribute to the well-being of this company. I would like to pause here also to mention that part about why this diversity thing really matters in terms of economic importance. We are a company that caters to families, that caters to mom, that caters to ladies that are really important for the choices of our product. So can you imagine to have a marketing team without having a mom which is representing all the ages in the company, here in the country? We are also looking in terms of representation at the regional background, which is something that is also something that is really important in a country like Nigeria, where you've got many economic classes, but also different regional nuances. It is really important to make sure that you have that representation into your company. And I would like to share one interesting example that we had recently in one of our conversations about one of the actions that we are carrying out. We were discussing the Ramadan period. And you know that we are in Buderi, and this is one of our peak seasons. And we were trying to launch a program, a promotional activities where we will be able to entice, of course, the consumers to click to our product. So how do you make it happen if you don't understand how it works into the northern part of Nigeria, into the southwest part of Nigeria, into the southeast part of Nigeria? Because what matters at any point in time for the northern part of the country might not be even relevant for that southeast part of the country. So by including all those viewpoints, having those teams that are represented, all the national fabric of Nigeria, it helps us a lot to take the decision. And I can tell you that the way that we approach, those promotions were very much different than what we did before, because we were able really to take into account those nuances, those regional and geographical nuances into how we conduct those promotional activities. So it is about business. It is not just for the sake of, making buzzwords. It means also business. And we in Children's Campaign Awamco, we have understood it. And that's the reason why we try to translate it both at the top leadership level, but also within our teams. Something that is also really important that I would like to call out is when we emphasize on diversity and inclusion, that part with regards to psychological safety. Because if we want to have people that will participate, we have to create the conditions for them to be able to really contribute. So we do believe that psychological safety is what turns diversity into true inclusion. It means that people feel comfortable speaking up, sharing different views, admitting mistakes without fear of negative or adverse consequences. We measure this through employee surveys. We do have over to you twice a year surveys, retention and promotion data, and speak-up channel with our compass, which is our way of doing business, that help us understand experiences that surveys alone may miss. Ensuring that psychological safety is also not just a concept for us. We make sure that our people development and leadership development programs also include this to ensure strengthening our people managers' capabilities as they are first in line into making that psychological safety a true reality. So basically, we are training on a regular basis, not only the top management, but all of our managers. So if you are in charge of managing people, it is something that is really important and key that you understand that the value of everyone is welcome into our company. And we train continuously our people so that at least it makes it something that we live every single day. One aspect also that I would like to call out is that D&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion cannot be a topic that is left entirely to HR. It has to be something that is pervasive within the company. Actually, all managers need to be part of that DEI effort. Why? Because it brings in inclusive team, it sets the right example through the actions and behavior that make it effective for the business to move forward. It is also important that we sponsor diverse talent, that we speak openly also about the importance of inclusion, and we ensure that our business processes and our system are really gearing toward making it effective. HR roles is to provide the tools, the data, the processes, but it is the role of every single manager to make sure that it is lived and it is effective. Do we have resistance while we're doing this? Yes, because sometimes you might see that all of the TEI initiatives can be seen as kind of a bonus, not to meritocracy. You see that even in some countries nowadays, DEI has become kind of a pariah award. We believe that DEI is never a zero-sum game. It's not you lose for me, okay, and you gain. We believe that overall, it makes the company move forward. And we need to continue to communicate, to receive the feedback that we have coming from those people who are resisting those efforts, and make sure that whenever it is not working, that we take decisive actions, because DEI is good for business. I would like to close my reflection by saying that refocusing diversity and inclusion is less about inventing new language, but it's more about closing the gap between what we measure and what our employees experience. As a CEO, my commitment is to use our global power of we foundation and our own roots in Nigerian communities to demonstrate that inclusion is not a constraint on performance, but a condition for it. Holding both myself, our business leaders, and HR jointly accountable for the outcome, not just for the announcement. We walk the talk. Our actions are what makes diversity, equity, and inclusion alive in our organization. Thank you.
Please, one more time, a round of applause for our guest speaker, Mr. Roger Hadu, Managing Director, Friesland Campaigner, WAMCO Nigeria PLC. Thank you, sir, for those insightful initiatives. I took some notes and I thought they were very, very powerful. Diversity performs best when everyone feels valued. And I mentioned the fact that it's not inclusion and diversity. For them, it is inclusive diversity. And that goes beyond gender representation, but that everyone's voices, are heard in the company. You also mentioned that diversity ensures that the value of everyone is welcome and acknowledged. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion is not a zero-sum game. How many of you heard that? It's not a thing of you win, I lose, or I win, you lose. It's that about everyone coming together to say that your voices are heard and together we win collectively. You know, before we proceed, I just thought about what is said, and I like to share a brief personal reflection. As I look around this room, I see an impressive gathering of fellows, FCIPM, members, MCIPM, and distinguished leaders in the HR professional. As an associate member, I'm ACIPM. It is both humbling and deeply encouraging to have the privilege to stand there as the MC for this event. Perhaps that is one of the most beautiful messages behind today's theme, that diversity and inclusion are not only about gender, age, or background, but they are also about creating opportunities for everyone, for the next generation, which is what backed up what I said earlier, that diversity for CIPM is not just a theme, but it is something that they work in, that I can stand there as a CIPM to MC this powerful event. And I think CIPM deserves a round of applause. So thank you to this amazing institute for this opportunity to all right. So thank you very much, sir, from the leadership to everyone on the team for recognizing that everyone has a privilege to serve, has something to offer. Please, can we give a round of applause to our guest speaker and also to the President and Chairman of Governing Council. Thank you, sir. Quickly, we're going to move to the keynote session number 2. And I'm going to be reading the profile of our second guest speaker, Dr. Mrs. Funke Adekbojo, Director General, Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, ASCON. Please, you'll find a profile on page 17 of the brochure. Dr. Funke Adekbojo, Director General of the Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, ASCON, is a visionary public sector leader, reform advocate, and capacity building strategist with over 3 decades of experience in public administration, institutional leadership, and governance reform. A 2025 A.I. Imokwede Visiting Fellow at the Blavatnik School of Government, University of Oxford. She's currently pioneering training reforms that links capacity building to measurable public sector outcomes through the RISC model reform, inspired systems, and execution. Since assuming office at ASCOM, she has championed digital transformation, curriculum renewal, competence-based executive training, strategic partnership, and institutional repositioning. Her professional affiliations include membership of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria and fellowships of the Institute of Corporate Administration, Association of Human Resource Practitioners, and Chartered Institute of Local Government and Public Administration. Ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, please, I'd like to welcome the keynote session from our guest speaker to Dr. Funke Adekbojo, Director General, Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, ASCON, as she takes the topic on refocusing diversity and inclusion in the organization, the CEO and HR's perspective. Thank you very much. Please, you're welcome.
The President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Malam Mohammed Ladan Gobir, FCIPM, the Governor of Lagos State, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, Public Service Office, Mrs. Suki Uribola, the Vice President, Mrs. Chidinma Obiege, CIPM, the National Treasurer, Mr. Adeyemi Ajayi, FCIPM, the Registrar and Chief Executive, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, the immediate past president, Mr. Olusegun Mojid, distinguished fellows of CIPM, Mr. Adu, the speaker before me, our paths crossed earlier, and it's good to see you here again. Mr. Okay, my name is on the protocol list, so maybe I'd like to greet myself too. The panelists here all present, distinguished members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It's a long list, permit me to at least stop there for now. Okay, so we're here. And I'll start from Mr. Rogers Adu, and I'd like to thank you for such a compelling case for the private sector and for treating diversity as a strategy that it is in the private sector. But this morning, let me offer you a different vantage point. And I speak to you today, not from a boardroom, not from the largest, most complex employer of diversity in this country, the Nigerian Public Service. And from here, I'd like to say that in the public sector, diversity is not a strategy you choose, it is the law. It's a good place to clap. One thing is very important for the reason why we're here today, and that is we're looking at diversity and inclusion from two lenses, the private sector and the public sector. But when my profile was being read, a very important part of it was omitted. And I'd like to say here that 29 years of my working life was with the Lagos State government, traversing all the departments, and I'm so very happy to be here as a retiree of the Lagos State government. So when I say that diversity and inclusion in the public sector is the law, let me be precise about what I mean. In the private sector, diversity more often than not begins like a business strategy, something you adopt because it is good for performance. But in the public sector, it begins somewhere else, which means a complete constitutional obligation to reflect the nation and to prevent any one section from dominating. And I'll tell you what that has led to. Please don't forget that I said it's a constitutional obligation that prevents a sector from dominating. So now consider what we are meant to hold together. More than 250 ethnic groups, more than 500 languages, 6 geopolitical zones, 36 states plus 1, FCT, 3 great faiths, and countless traditions, and all held together by design, not by chance. And so, our founders did not leave our unity to goodwill. They wrote it into the Constitution. That's where I'm headed. Don't worry, it's just gonna be a new laptop. I'm trying to master it. It's repeating for me. Let me go the traditional, we're giving my book. Oh, yeah. So as we move, I spoke about the scale of us and the scale of what we have on the screen. So just imagine what we're talking about when we're saying the public sector. So when I say it's written to the law, that's where we will see a bigger picture of how Nigeria as a state already took the decision on diversity and inclusion even before the private sector starts to put it in their books. It's an entire architecture, and I'm going to start with the inclusion of various acts in the Constitution. Section 14, subsection 3 and 4 give us the federal character, the sense of national unity, and the federal right there in the Constitution. And then we have the Federal Character Commission, and which says that equitable representation in public employment is key. They're not just mere policies, they've been written into the Constitution. We also have the Anti-Discrimination Act 2014 on the HIV and AIDS, which says discrimination by real or perceived HIV status is unlawful. I'm sure that's number 3. Section 42 is not left out. It speaks to the freedom from discrimination and that fundamental human rights are enforceable. The Disability Act, I'm sure most of us knew that when this came in, we started having ramps in our offices. That's inclusion. The Disability Act speaks to barring disability discrimination and probably less than 5% staffing target for public bodies. And we didn't stop there. The African Charter, which is the Ratification Act, also says equality and non-discrimination is equally given the force of law in Nigeria. So briefly, that's almost about 6, which is already speaking to diversity and inclusion. The gap matters, and we should name it plainly. But if we look at the whole picture for the public service, inclusion is not an initiative we launched. It is a body of law we are bound to deliver. I think Nigeria deserves a clap. I wrote something here, it's very nice. Diversity has been invited to the party. We take from A, from B, from C, from D, from everywhere, make sure that there's representation. But inclusion is being asked to dance. So let us imagine, how many of us get invitations to parties, for instance? But when you get to the party, are you invited to come and dance? More often than not, it's the celebrant. Do we all agree? And that's the paradox we live with every single day. You can obey every one of those laws. You can get the representation exactly right on paper, and people can still feel like strangers in their own institution. Vietnamese puts it better than anyone has. And that's what I just read on the screen, that diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Our Constitution guarantees invitation. It is a magnificent invitation that we are represented as such, but too often, nobody asks people to dance. And so, what does refocusing those two key words mean for all of us. So when I talk about refocusing diversity and inclusion, this is exactly how I see it. It's a set of shifts. And I want us to take note of that just simple phrase, a set of shifts from representation to inclusion, from compliance to making it an organizational culture, from presence, not just being there, but to belonging, and from filling a quota to unlocking a contribution. And lastly, reflecting the nation into harnessing its full talent. And so where in all of this do we play? The public service takes a very serious look at all of these sheets. And I wouldn't say we're there 100%, but I would say that we are right into it. And so how does refocusing, how does it work for us? Moving, making the shift. When I went to when I went to Oxford for my fellowship, I made a deliberate attempt to position training in a different light, a sort of paradigm shift. And so my research was, how do we ensure that we're training for impact? When we put those money into training, both local and international, we need to ask a question: what changes? And that means it's become very key at the point of all the reforms that we're doing to focus those training on the reform initiatives that our various states and organizations are working on. And then we came up with the RISE model. And that RISE model is simply saying moving inclusion from an aspiration we admire to an operating system that we must run. So within our various organizations, and especially the public service, we're saying we're redesigning the machinery, not decorate its output. The focus before now is majorly on the throughputs. And by throughputs, I mean how many certificates were issued, how many people came for training, and it ends there. So with ASCON, in addressing the issue of reform and inclusion, we have introduced, I'll just move to the execution. We have moved to ensuring that execution is now an integral part of the training that we offer. And that is making sure that inclusion is not only on the poster, but is also on the scorecard. How many of us as supervisors can say, oh, thank God for the training you went, we've seen those changes. We need to track them. We need to document them so that at the end of the day, everybody, I don't want to use the word everybody, but let me say a very significant percentage would also have the sense of belonging. They are not outside the box, they are right within it. Can I have the next slide, please? Something funny written here, that merit and inclusion are not enemies. And let me also explain to you, taking us back on the issue of diversity and inclusion. When we're doing employment at the federal level, and I'm very happy that the Director General for BPSR is here. Good to see you. When we're doing employment at the federal level, it is mandatory that the Federal Character Commission is involved. In actual fact, if you don't get a clearance from them, you cannot go ahead. They don't want you to decide that because you're based in Ogun State, all the people in your organization are indigenes of Ogun State. It has also made provision for the Disability Act and so many other provisions that have been made. So if you ask me, I would say that merit and inclusion are not enemies, except we're just lazy by thinking. One does not move another one away from the table. what we need to begin to do is not lower the bar. It is to begin to widen the gate and raise the floor. And that we're saying invest in capacity in every zone. So the pool of excellence is deep everywhere. Inclusion is very critical for us to achieve organizational goals. We can't afford to leave anyone behind. And so merit and balance stop pulling against each other. And this is precisely why ASCON exists. We build the people. And it's very important for me to tell you that ASCON services 36 states of this federation's public service and has trained well over 600,000 people in its year of existence. Please clap for ASCON. So basically in the public service, the law guides us and nobody takes that lightly. The invitation to dance. Nigeria was never built to go fast. It was built to go far together in diversity. Let me close. It's something we say about this country. The invitation written into our constitution 40 years ago and our unfinished tasks, yours and mine, is to make sure that everyone who was invited genuinely is asked to dance. So let us refocus, not to count better, but to belong deeper. And take the slide where we had the set of sheep, very clear, because that's what we're moving towards, to ensure that diversity and inclusion remains an integral part of our organizational growth. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, man. That's Dr. Funke Adepo, the Director General, Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, ASCON. Please, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for her. Thank you very much. You know, when I hear things that excite me, I like to write them down. You know, diversity is being invited to what? Answer me now. It's being invited to the what? And I think it will stick because a lot of us like to party, don't we? Inclusion is being asked to what? To dance. How many of you like to dance? You can dance, raise your hands up. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you can dance. And that was a very powerful quote. One of the things that she also said is that inclusion should not just be on the poster, it should be on the scorecard. Merit and inclusion are not enemies. Don't lower the bar, widen the gate, and what? Raise the floor. Invest in capacity in every zone so the pool of excellence is deepening. I think those were very powerful insights, and I was touched by some of the things that you mentioned. Please, one more time, a round of applause for our guest speaker, Dr. Funke Adepoju. Thank you very much. Quickly, we're going to take a 5-minute stretch. You know, use the opportunity. If you want to use the restroom, the convenience, please make your way out of the exit door. We have some ushers who will direct you to where the convenience is. You can also network. It's a room filled with powerful people, CEOs, CHROs alike. Please take that opportunity, you know, to reach out and, you know, network with people. And exactly 5 minutes after, we're going to have a powerful panel session. That is a session that you don't want to miss. Ladies and gentlemen, please, you can enjoy your 5 minutes break. I was just informed that we have from the stable of Friesland, Campina, Wamco PLC, we have products outside available for people to enjoy. It's a privilege to have the MD, Mr. Roger Adu, speak to us earlier about diversity and inclusion. Mr. Roger is so happy to see you. Thank you very much for speaking to us and blessing us with those wonderful insights. So if you'd like to enjoy some of the products of Friesland Campina, please just make your way outside and then they'll be happy to serve you. It's a room. Okay, Mr. Collins, our distinguished panel, please come. Mr. Collins, please make your way forward. Mr. Collins. That's Dr. Funke Adepoju. And Dr. Dazuki Arabi, FCIPM, taking the picture. It's a beautiful room. The Chief Registrar, Chief Executive, Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM Chartered FCIPD, in a small talk with the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, MCIPM, ably represented by the Permanent Secretary, Public Service Office, Mrs. Sukomi Oyagbola, FCIPM, in a photo session, a beautiful room. Yeah. Dr. Dazuki Arabi, Mrs. Sukomi Oyegbola, FCIPM, President and Chairman of Governing Council, Director General ASCON, Mr. Roger Adu, in a photo session. Beautiful people, amazing leaders. Please, I'd like to call on Mr. Collins, our distinguished panel, to please make his way forward. Okay, Mom. Please, can we It's a lovely atmosphere. Please like us to come. Let's have a seat so we move straight into the panel session. Please, let's move straight into the panel session. I'd like to quickly appreciate our sponsors who have done us well. Please let me appreciate Metaphor. Let me also appreciate Friesland, Campina, Wamco PLC, that's Peak Yogurt. Let me also appreciate and recognize Sunbeth Global Concept, Lotus Capital, Alal Investments, Ocean Marine Solutions, Leadway. I'd also like to recognize OMAC. The MD CEO spoke to us just recently, Mrs. Adiogo, FCIPM, Site Savers, Philips Outsourcing. Thank you to all our sponsors. We really appreciate you. Please, can we now begin to have a seat so we can move quickly into the panel session. This is what we call the photo speaks. Registered Chief Executive, Mr. Roger, Managing Director. Thank you very much, sir. All right, please, distinguished guests, can we have a seat so we can have the session as I invite the distinguished guests and the moderator for this session. All right, thank you very much. Please, distinguished guests, can we please have a seat? All right, thank you. Can we please have a seat this morning as we move quickly into the next session? All right, please join me as I invite on stage the speakers for the panel session. And I also invite the moderator shortly for this session. Please join me to welcome Mr. Roger Adu, MD Friesland Campina, Wamco PLC Nigeria. Please let's welcome Mr. Roger Adu to the stage. A round of applause for Mr. Roger as he comes to the stage. Thank you. Please let's welcome the MD of Friesland Campina, Wamco Nigeria PLC, Mr. Roger Adu, as he comes to the stage for the panel session. A round of applause for him, please. We're starting the panel session right now. I'd like us to take a minute to sit. All right, please, I'd also like to welcome on stage Dr. Funke Adepodo, Director General, ASCON, on stage. Please let me welcome her on stage. All right, quickly, I'm also going to read the profile. I've read the profile of our guest speakers. Join me as I read the profile of our panelists. Sure. Dr. Colin Enim, FCIPM, Vice President, Human Resources, West Africa, ISON Experiences. And this is on page 19 of our brochure. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please settle down as we continue our session? We'll have lots of time to continue the picture session and the networking immediately after we're done. We don't want to keep our guests waiting, our distinguished speakers. We don't want to keep them waiting. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Dr. Colin Enim, FCIPM, is a distinguished human capital management leader and digital transformation professional with over 20 years of broad spectrum experience spanning the financial services, consulting, retail operations, academia, and security services sector. Throughout his career, he has successfully formulated and implemented people strategies that align with organizational goals, leveraging digital innovation and agile transformation to drive business performance while championing diversity, equity, and inclusion. Dr. Enim is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, FCIPM, reflecting his distinguished standing within the HR profession. He holds a Doctor of Human Resource Management degree from University Imperial College, Missouri, USA, and a Master of Public International Affairs, MPIA, from the University of Lagos. His multidisciplinary academic and professional education has provided him with a solid foundation in leadership, governance, strategic management, organizational development, effective communication, enabling him to translate research-driven insights into practical, high-impact business solutions. Dr. Enim currently serves as a Vice President, Human Resources at ISON Experiences West Africa, where he provides strategic leadership for the organization's human resource function across 5 West African countries. He's passionate about advancing world-class human resources practices that empowers people, develop exceptional leaders, and build future-ready organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me Dr. Colin Enim, FCIPM, as it comes on stage. And to moderate this wonderful panel session, please let's welcome our panelists. Dr. Colin, you're welcome. Can I have you sit, sir? To moderate this panel session is a distinguished member of the elected council, Dr. Michael Ewumazino Ogo, FCIPM. Please let's welcome him as he comes on stage. That's Dr. Michael.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I said good morning, everyone. So we didn't do justice to this panel. It's not DIB center. There's only one woman. Anyway, that's on a lighter note. All right. Amazing presentations by our 2 speakers, Mr. Roger Ado and Dr. Funke Adepoju. We are looking at refocusing diversity and inclusion in the organization, the CEO and CHRO perspective, and we have a blend of public sector and private sector leaders here. We've heard from our 2 speakers, so I'll start with our panelist, Dr. Colin. Dr. Colin, let's start with your opening remarks around the topic, if you want to make additional contributions to what our 2 speakers have said, and then we'll take it off from there. So over to you, Dr. Colin.
All right, so a very good morning to everyone here. And of course, I stand on existing posture. So just to go straight to what we have just asked, I would say that I share the very same insights and visions as my two keynote speakers have actually shared. And what I will have to add to this is, let's look at it from a perspective of an employer's value proposition, all right? Through the lens of a quadrant. The last of the quadrants here is looking at is the work environment. Now, the work environment as it is that bedrock of which diversity, equity, and inclusion is built. So without an organization who is the public or private sector not having that understanding and having that bedrock and inclusion of this all important strategy, definitely that organization is bound to fail. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
A round of applause for Dr. Colin. All right, so we are going to be having this session for 1 hour. Please, if you have questions, both our online participants and on-site participants, please send your questions through the usher. We will take them. Dr. Adekbochu, you made a very critical statement that diversity is the law when it comes to the public sector. So my first question to you is, how has the Federal Character Commission worked with government MDAs to ensure that diversity really is upheld in both the recruitment and career progression of both public and civil servants? Let's start with you from the public sector perspective.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mogutu. The answer is very clear. The Federal Character Commission is an establishment of the law. And I mentioned while speaking that it is not optional that before recruitments at the MDA level, it must get to the Federal Character Commission for them to approve the distribution that has been put forward. So without their clearance, those recruitments will not take place. So that's already emphatic to show that they're involved in the process. The recruitment could have been an invitation to everybody, but when it comes to the actual deployment of those initiatives, the Federal Character Commission comes first to authorize the distribution that has been put on the table for coming into the service.
Just a follow-up question before we get to Mr. Roger. A lot of people have accused the FCC and government MDAs of favoritism, nepotism, and all the likes. Would you say that's the case? Is it a man-no-man issue, or are we really upholding the true tenets of federal character?
Well, you recall that during my presentation, I spoke about the issue of merit and inclusion. The fact that we have the Federal Character Commission is enough a basis for integrity for the process. So it's got nothing to do with man or man. It's just a basic requirement of the law that employment, so let me use the word recruitment, across the board must have a fair representation of the country.
And so what you are saying is that merit and inclusion can actually sit side by side.
Of course, yes.
All right. Let's go to Mr. Roger. Mr. Roger, brilliant presentation from you. And let's start with this question. As organizations face increasing economic and operational pressures, how can CEOs and CHROs ensure that diversity and inclusion remain strategic priorities rather than at the whim and caprices of the business leaders?
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just as I mentioned earlier, diversity, equity, and inclusion cannot be seen as a caprice of any leader because it is business. It means business. And I mentioned that during my presentation that if you don't have those many perspectives, you cannot cater to the business that you are serving. You cannot serve them very well because you don't understand the nuances and that those markets have. So it is really important and it's critical for any business to really bring in that diversity in, to have that inclusion so that at least people can harness, the innovation, improve the decision-making process into the company. And for us into the private sector, we've gone a long way through, maybe those one are the one that know, to no. If you broaden the perspective, if people are different, they bring in different perspectives, they bring in different values, which helps the decision-making process to be stronger, be much more effective, and eventually to serve the consumer better. And if you serve them better, you always win. So that's a perspective that I wanted also to share there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Roger. Dr. Colin, let's hear your perspective on the same question from the CHRO lens. As organizations face increasing economic and operational pressures, how can CEOs and CHROs ensure that diversity and inclusion remains strategic priorities rather than at the whims and caprices of business leaders? Your thoughts?
All right, thanks for that question, moderator. And I'll first and foremost start by saying that from the CEO's perspective of the HR lens, it is important that organizations and the leadership should first embrace this strategy as a business strategy. The moment that it's being embraced as a business strategy, then the rest is going to be within the organization. Ownership needs to be taken by the leaders, the CEO, of which they have to embrace it and ensure it is not just an HR initiative. It is a strategy that needs to be driven from top to bottom. And what am I speaking to when I say ownership and strategy? The CEO and the leadership of every organization, be it private or public, needs to ensure that they drive this initiative through the leaders, through communication channels, corporate communication channels, empowering the leaders, the managers, for them to have a clear understanding of the importance of inclusion within this space. Now, for the HR managers and of course, they are the implementators, they are the drivers. So how will the HR now key into this initiative and drive this key strategy? As I said, it is not supposed to be viewed as an HR initiative in that light. The moment the understanding is there that it's going to be a strategy, and HR now drive the strategies through its robust recruitment platform or initiative, the entire talent management process, and the performance management system, of which metrics are included on an annual basis, being measured both by managers and of course executives of the organization. So these metrics must be included in their performance scorecards. They must speak to learning and development programs, mentorship programs, of which all of this would add up to ensuring that the strategy that has been born or birthed at the very top is cascaded and entirely through the organization.
Thank you so much, Dr. Colin. And you've talked about cascading. So what do you think will be major bottlenecks? Just a follow-up question in cascading a DI strategy.
Definitely, it's going to be, we've been looking at the ideas of employees not embracing or having the clear understanding of what the DEI initiative is all about. Irrespective of the fact that they might not have that clear understanding, we need to reinforce communication from the very top through the HR platform, through all line managers within the system, to give the people, the employees, a better understanding of what the strategy is all about and why everyone within the system have to be included in driving this strategy for the benefit of the organization.
Thank you so much, Dr. Colin. My next question is going to be for the three of you, and I'll start with Mrs. Adegboju, and I want both the public sector and private sector perspective on this question. How can organizations, whether public sector or private sector, harness generational diversity as a source of competitive advantage. Or do you want Mr. Roger to start first? So let's hear your thought. Public sector, then I'll take private sector from both of them.
The word I'm going to take away from just what you have said is what you call the generational diversity. It's a very big one, and it's something that we have to come to live with. And for me personally, I would say that in achieving that, it's very important for us to move with time and to find ways or deepen ways that we are modernizing the system. And I think the key among the things we should consider is the continuous embedding of digitalization and digitization process in the workplace. If you take someone who's been in the system for about 30 years, because I experienced that, and I recall that at some point in our processes, I was like, no, I don't want us to use physical certificates anymore. 40% of those that were at the meeting together were of the opinion that it cannot work.
Baby boomers, I guess. Or veterans, I guess.
And when I had
apologies to Mr. President and IPP.
so, and when
I just want to start shaking the tables now.
Tell you, and when I heard it cannot work, my first question was, why can't it work? And the answer I got was, most of these people, they don't know how to use computer. And I said, the federal government is spending a lot on digitization. So how come they don't know how to do it? How do they use their phones? How do they transfer money? So, ladies and gentlemen, like I told them, we will go digital. So we now went to Kano State for a program. Let's give it up for Kano State. And this is just 2 weeks ago. And we were meant to conduct examinations for the public service. And then we told them there's no physical registration. If we do not have your registration digitally, you have no certificate. A lot of things have been addressed in that issue, but I can tell you that the Gen Zs among my staff were so excited that they put themselves together and developed an app for the school, which is the alumni app for ASCOM. And for me, that's the first in 53 years. And it shows that as we're inching towards digitization and digitalization in our systems and this time of AI, the need for us to integrate and bring people together and bring them onto the same level is very important. And I think that's one of the ways that we can use to address the generational diversification. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for Dr. Adikboju. Mr. Roger, from the private sector, how can businesses harness generational diversity as a source of competitive advantage?
Well, thanks. I'm glad that you bring in that perspective on diversity, which is the generational diversity, because we tend to think that when we talk about diversity, it's about gender, it's about religion, it's about tribe, it's about, but it's also about generations, okay? And that's one of the beautiful way that generational diversity, where you see kind of a reverse, let's say, cross-fertilization, okay? With people who are, you call them veterans, right? Who have got that experience, and people who are the Gen Zs that Dr. Madam mentioned, who are very much astute with, those new technology, AI, digitization. And where you see that, well, people come together in the workplace, collaborate, and teach each other for the benefit of the company, because those ones who have been there before, they know the tricks and tricks of the company, okay? They've got that experience. They've got the tools. So that's where also you have, the beauty of diversity, because if everybody sits at the table, the ones with the experience, the other one with the tools at the masters, okay? And they start bringing that together, you get a fantastic opportunity for your company to thrive. So for us, diversity, again, is in all its aspects, is a boon for any company, any business, because it helps that company go forward and elevates its standard. And as you said, if you have that transmission, okay, which is kind of the back and forth, you will see that everybody learns, everybody grows, and when everybody grows, then the company also grows.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for Mr. Roger. Dr. Colin, a penny for your thoughts. How can organizations, businesses harness generational diversity as a source of competitive advantage?
Absolutely. So the first and foremost, I would say, welcome to the world of works. I mean, this is the era and the generation in which we are living in, and every organization whether public or private sector, needs to embrace it well for exponential growth. Looking at organization having generational employees within their fold should be looked and seen as an advantage for the growth of that organization. Because here you're harnessing experience with new employees who are techie savvy and are able to express themselves in diverse ways. In today's world, we will be looking at organizations having up to 5 generational gaps of employees within their fold. Oh, yes. And what does that mean? It means that organization has a potential to grow exponentially. What did I mean by that? You would see that those who are older in nature have reason to learn from the younger ones. Their communication styles will differ, whether it's through verbal communication or through email etiquette, it will differ. But it should not in any way be seen as a form of unprofessionalism or disrespect to the older generations. But this is an opportunity for all generation stratas to learn from themselves. One important thing that one needs to note within this segment is the concern of a psychological bias. In such an institution, you would oftentimes see the younger ones not wanting to express themselves, to speak up or add the needed value because they've seen their father's age mates probably sitting or chairing a committee. Now, within this organization or such an organization, that bias seen as a barrier needs to be broken down. Freedom of expression, freedom of communication, understanding, learning from one another, the aspect of cross-learning and cross-pollination of ideas needs to be encouraged. And this should be driven by the HR leaders through managers within the respective departments for an enhanced and inclusive collaboration within the organization. So yes, it should always be seen as a positive when such gaps are identified. But more importantly, the bias that employees will face through their various stratas, whether it's from the Gen Zs or the millennials or the baby boomers, those barriers should be eradicated for the health and growth of the organization.
Thank you so much, Dr. Colin. A round of applause for him. So to our online colleagues, please begin to send your questions. You can drop them in the chat box. The media team will get them across to us. And for those of us on site, please let's begin to send our questions in. The final round before we go into our audience for the two groups. And I'll start with Dr. Mr. Adekboju. It's both a public sector and private sector question. So how should private sector and public sector organizations balance merit-based HR processes with the need to address historical inequalities and expand opportunities for underrepresented groups, URGs? Let me take the question again. How should private sector and public sector organizations balance merit-based HR processes to address historical inequalities and expand opportunities for underrepresented groups, URGs?
Let me speak for the public sector.
As expected, ma'am.
Thank you very much. The processes in the public sector, honestly, is very thorough and it's taken very seriously. And I want to believe that a lot falls on our HR people. And so we should continue to encourage the HR professionals to follow the tenets of the profession. When it comes to selection, when it comes to nominations, when it comes to promotions, all of these are set in their ways against the public service rules. And you cannot change them. The only thing I would like for us to add would be for public sector HR professionals to make it intentional to upskill their knowledge. Intentional. You will recall that in the early part of the year, through the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, membership of CIPM was made mandatory. And I think
CIPM deserves a round of applause, please. A round of applause for our institute. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes, and that's a very big one because I had the opportunity to present in Namibia with the Prime Minister seated. And by the time I stepped down, speaking about CIPM's membership being made mandatory for the development of HR, I think Nigeria got a standing ovation. And the reason for this is that sometimes the leaders are stray. I was asking someone in HR of something in particular. She told me, no, it's not like that. So I went online to read the PSR myself. And I brought out relevant sections. And I called in the director and I said, you cannot afford not to be ahead of the pack. And I think we have a major issue there. So yes, you are HR executives, directors, head. I think we need to continually reskill, upskill, update in line with best practices so that the value that we bring to the table in terms of advisory becomes valuable. And I think that's the only thing I would want to say. We know all the roles for the HR, but the truth of the matter is, do they implement, do they execute? And I'm going to add another example that should send us into a reason to think deeper. In December last year, I had 172 officers apply for leave to resume in February. I don't know whether we got the quantum of those figures.
172.
Yes, 172 to resume in February, and their leave starts. Are you one of them? And their leave technically starts from around December 28, December 29. 30 working days takes us into first week in February. So it takes me, coming from an HR background, to say, no, I'm not approving this. Annual leave, look at the name, is year specific. Please give me a round of applause. And that's why we need to be ahead of the pack. The titles are okay, but how well grounded are we in basic HR principles? And when I said annual leave is specific, I will only approve on one condition, that your reason for wanting to take it is exceptional. And that's how we did not allow that to take place.
Thank you so much, Madam DG. Let's give her a round of applause. So to add to what you said, you talked about upskilling, reskilling. I would add we should cross-skill, we should expert skill, and we should multi-skill where necessary. Mr. Roger, your thoughts on the question?
Well, maybe before I'm going to that question, I would like to come back to one very point observation that our colleague made about, the ability for the generation to be able to talk to each other whenever they are seated. And that's where basically the psychological safety is really important. And we need to foster into our companies, into I don't know for the public sector, but at least for the company, whenever you embrace DEI, you have to make sure that that psychological safety is there, so that at least you can take or get the best out of everyone. It is, as I think it was Madam who said, it's like being invited at the party, but you might be invited at the party and you're sitting, and then you're not dancing, so you're not enjoying the party. Basically, the party is for everyone to dance, and that's a psychological safety that is kind of an enabler for people to come to dance, and when they dance, the party is even much more. Now coming back to your question with regards to how do we reconcile D&I and merit? I think those are not antagonistic perspective for us. What we are asking is to make sure that we broaden the base of the people that we want to recruit, that we broaden the base of the people that we want to promote. Okay. You might have understood from my accent that I'm not Nigerian, but one of the beauty with Nigeria, and I always keep telling that to my colleagues into our management team, it's not the natural resources that Nigeria has, it is its people. Can you imagine a country of more than 230 million inhabitants? That brings in talent, and talent everywhere. Talent in terms of the tribes, in terms of the religion, etc. So you cannot tell me that in this Nigeria, you cannot find somebody for a role where you are always compelled to find into the same origin every time. It is not possible. I cannot believe it, and I'm not buying it. So by making sure that you ingrain that into the psyche of your team, first of all, they will broaden that base, and then you're able to get. And what we're talking about diversity, you need to have the qualification before you enter, because if you don't have the qualification, even if you are diverse, will not bring you in. Okay. Now, when it comes to promotion, again, I will come back. It is up to the company to continue to train you, to retrain you, to give you the opportunity and the exposure so that at least you can thrive. And that's also where I think that as company, we need to really take that burden. I don't believe, at least in our case at Prison Campina, WAMCO, we don't believe that it is a nature issue. Diversity is a leader's issue. If we don't have that perspective of making sure that everybody is at the table and everybody is invited to dance, then we'll know that the party is not going to be sweet. And we want to have sweet parties. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rogers. So if you go to a party and you are not invited to dance, but let me add my own. If you are not invited to eat firewood jollof, you were not invited to that party. A round of applause for Mr. Rogers. So one critical thing you mentioned, diversity is not a HR issue, it's a leadership issue. Okay, Dr. Collin, your thoughts on the question? Do I need to read it again?
Feel free to read what.
Okay, so let me just read it again. So the question is, how should public sector and private sector organizations balance merit-based HR processes with the need to address historical inequalities and expand opportunities for underrepresented groups, URGs?
A very good question, and thanks for that. First and foremost, I would say meritocracy and diversity are not competing priorities. Yes, they are not in any way competing priorities. So what does that tell you? That equally important in the organization. Now, if this is understood, first and foremost from the very top, the leadership, as a strategy, before it's being cascaded and implemented across all strata of the organization, the benefit will be immense. So the ability for leaders, inclusive of HR, to harness the potentials of a merit-based driven system in terms of recruitment, ensuring that it has the essentials of diversity, diverse people, diverse cultures that will bring to the table their expertise for the needed innovation that will take the organization to a greater height. So yes, we need to first understand that as a concept from that HR perspective and as a strategy from a leadership perspective. Now, if you want to go granular in terms of inclusion, what are we speaking to? Now let's go granular. We know what inclusion speaks to and its benefits within the organization. But in a granular form, what it is basically the everyday experience of employees. Everyday experience of employees. Do they feel valued? Do they feel loved? Are they given the opportunity to contribute, speak up, and add the needed value, irrespective of their age, gender, or color? These are fundamentals when we're speaking to inclusion. And once this is properly understood within a system, a merit-based system would definitely open channels of attracting talents from diverse backgrounds. Also taking into cognizance all the beautiful policy statements and initiatives that the government has also introduced, ensuring that their organization, whether it's public or private, is enriched to deliver on its terms and objectives.
Thank you so much, Dr. Collin. Let's give him a round of applause. Dr. Adepoju would like to take her leave shortly, but before she does that, I need your perspective on one question very quickly from Joy Benson. Thank you so much, esteemed panelists, for your insights. I would like if our esteemed speakers and panelists could talk about actual metrics that CEOs and HR leaders should use to measure real impact of the many diversity and inclusion initiatives beyond workplace representations and hiring statistics. So maybe you could give us insights. So in summary, she's saying, how can we really measure the impact of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives beyond representations, beyond numbers? Say we have this person from Southeast, this person from Southwest, and all of that. What metrics can we really use to show impact? I think that's what Joy is trying to ask. And maybe from a public sector perspective before you take your leave. The mic, man.
So she's asking what the CEOs, right, will do or need to do.
Yes, the CEOs and HR leaders, what they need to do to really measure real impact. How do they measure real impact?
I think it's very important to take of sense of belonging in organizations. It ties with inclusion. When people have sense of belonging, or when the organization gives the opportunity for people to have sense of belonging, so much can be achieved. And I think that's one thing that is missing more often than not. Sometimes you have organizations where everything is done by top management. At no point is middle level management given the opportunity. It could be at their own level, and such ideas or sense of belonging that they have is cascaded into what we do at the top management. But the most important thing is for us, if you ask me, is there anything that we can do differently? I will say to ensure that our staff have a sense of belonging in the organization and their ideas given a thought. And I will say, because more often than not, that sense of belonging leaves a fingerprint. And so go look for them. Go look for them is a phrase that I will use and bring them in. They have a lot to offer. Don't let's continue to alienate them. We alienate them in a lot of ways. They have no voice. And so when we bring all the plans and all the strategies and theories, we forget that it is the people that matter. So eventually we are coming back to need the people to implement most of these organizational policies that we want to carry out, the DEI and everything, but they have to be involved. Because like an adage says I don't know how to say it in English, but I can always say that, anybody who knows English. And a tree does not make a forest. And that's why you find out that sometimes even abroad, you find the CEO, he has his sleeves rolled up, he's seated on the desk edge, and he's talking to you in a relaxed form, and you can speak, can bring up ideas, and we call it brainstorming, we call it team bonding, we call it a lot of things. So belonging is the key word here that can put the two together.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We appreciate you. A round of applause for Dr. Mrs. Funke Adekboju for the insights she has shared with us. All right, we'd like to recognize and appreciate our 376 plus online participants. We appreciate you. Please feel free to drop your questions. Media team, do we have any questions from the online team? Okay, I'll tell you when we'll project them. All right, so Mr. Roger, let's have your thoughts on the question. How can we really measure real impact of D&I initiatives from a private sector perspective?
Well, maybe I can share the experience of President Campina.
Yes, please.
Area. What we have is we report on our DI numbers to our shareholders. Every year we do have our annual general meeting, and to the annual report, there are those numbers that are communicated. But even to the board, and I see my board director that is just back, every quarter when we do have a meeting, Madam Amina will testify, will report to the board our numbers in terms of DEI, how many ladies, how many men, nationality also. So We've got KPIs that we report every single quarter. We do have also on our numbers those KPIs that we follow every single month, and we see. And that's where basically you become deliberate in trying to attract, those underrepresented groups into your company. So basically, that's how we work at Prison Campina. We measure them with KPIs that are shared both by the HR lead, but also by the department leads, because they need also to make sure that they reach those numbers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Roger. Dr. Colin, this question is for you. What are we doing differently to welcome and accept neurodivergent individuals into our workplaces? By neurodivergent examples, people with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, just to mention a few. So your thoughts, Dr. Colin.
All right, thanks for that brilliant question. And yet again, I would want to speak to the fact that this is speaking to inclusion, right? To a large extent, on a broader scale. Now, first and foremost, again, I reinstate and reinforce that it must be a strategy within that given organization to embrace these diverse sets of employees within our system. So one thing that we've come to understand is that most organizations always want to tick the boxes of compliance or social standing and representation within that organization, so that at least when it's being reviewed by auditors or government regulators, we have good representation across board and we meet the compliance standards. But truth be told, it goes beyond all of that. And here we're speaking to the aspect of inclusion, whereby the organization has opened its doors to bring in a diverse set of employees, irrespective of any eventualities or special abilities and stakes. And therefore, the moment this is properly embraced at a leadership perspective, status, the HR team can drive this initiative to the letter. And how would they do this? They would revamp the entire recruitment process. All channels of recruitment would be explored, be it people living with disability, the 5% hires for marginalized communities as enacted by the government, getting resources and talents from diverse channels, because the organization has come to terms and believe that in a diverse system where culture thrives, innovation is the order of the day. Now, this would now dovetail into their performance management system, of which metrics are enshrined in their scorecards, right from the very top to the very lowest, because it's a collective effort. Such that it's a collective effort to drive this strategy across all strata. So that is how it is supposed to be perceived and looked at in order to achieve that level of equality and inclusion that will benefit the entire organization.
Thank you so much, Dr. Colin. A round of applause for him. Media team, can we go to our online audience? Let's see the questions we have online. And if you still have questions, please, you can send them to the ushers. We've taken the two that have been sent in. Okay. What would be your advice to a commercial capability development? Oh, no, this is not. We'll leave the Dr. Mr. Adepoju has just left. Okay. Oh, she's gone. So maybe we'll send them to her. Okay, so from Dr. Helen for Mr. Roger, this is for you. In the context, not too fast, please. In the context of Nigeria's increasingly heterogeneous workforce, how can organizations strategically refocus diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives from mere regulatory compliance to a performance-driven framework that enhances employee well-being, organizational resilience, innovation, and sustainable competitive advantage? The question is from Dr. Helen Ofo.
Okay, well, thank you for the question. I think that I try at least to answer to that question. It is, at least for companies like ours, it is more than compliance. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is and means business. So if companies, or if you have some companies that feel that, well, it is a compliance issue, it is not, because of your addressable market, because they are not representative into your decision-making process, into how you design product, how you innovate, how you address and deliver more to all of your stakeholders.
Thank you so much. Media, can we have a question? There is another one from Dr. Helen for Dr. Colin. Yes, scroll up. So keep scrolling. Yeah, Dr. Colin, this just keep moving up. Media team, move up. Okay. I will allow both of you speak to this question from a CEO perspective and from a CHRO perspective. How do you change a toxic culture where employees are spoken to in condescending manner and gossip is weaponized? Unfortunately, the ED is the one championing this toxic culture. Mr. Roger, let's hear the CEO's perspective. So in a minute, because we have just less than 5 minutes to wrap up.
I would say when you embark on the organization.
Such that every employee certainly feels included within the business of the day. They can add value. So diverse initiatives needs to be taken up from the very top in terms of corporate communications of such cultural breakups and build-up, encouraging people to relieve the values and the beliefs of the organization, and this should be spread across. So HR will not drive this initiative and ensure that focus groups are being seen. Elements that would not want to embrace the new drive and culture, and those can be perceived as barriers within the system. But from the lens of an HR executive or CHRO or HR director, such barriers should not mean we can't do it. It means probably there has not been proper communication and understanding by that employee or set of employees. So the strategy would be to re-engage with diverse employee engagement activities, communication being reinforced for that to be well understood and driven across board, top down.
All right, let's take your closing remarks, 30 seconds.
So I would want to encourage every organization, be it public or private sector, that in today's world of works, diversity, equity, and inclusion cannot be ignored. It is the catalyst of an organization's sustainability in the long term, growth, and innovation for the desired profits to be made, given to their customers, both internal and external, the expected customer experience that they so deserve.
Thank you so much. Mr. Roger, your closing remarks, 30 seconds.
I would like to re-echo what my colleague has said. DEI is really critical for any organization to grow. And you've seen over the past, let's say, centuries, countries that have taken the lead have been able to have it because they were fostering that DEI. It's really unfortunate that you see some of them backtracking now, but for us here in Nigeria, for our organization, it is good to embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. And with the marvelous, wealth of potential of talent that we have, the companies can only grow further, and the country will only continue to grow to higher heights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Roger. A round of applause for our panelists. In closing, diversity is you are invited to the party. Inclusion is you'll be given the dance floor. Thank you so much, our panelists. It's been an amazing time. Mr. MC, over to you. A round of applause.
Thank you very much. Please, I think this panel deserves a round of applause. Please, can we celebrate them? Thank you. Thank you very much for this wonderful panel session. Very insightful. We had a lot of things to write down. Very insightful, very profound, and full of wisdom. Thank you very much, the panelists. We would like to go straight into the presentation of plaques, to our distinguished guest speakers. First off, I'd like to invite the President and Chairman of Governing Council, CIPM, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobere, FCIPM, FNLI, to present the plaque to Mr. Roger Adu, Managing Director, Friesland Campina, Ramco Nigerian PLC. Is going to be presenting, sir, I think, present the plaque, to him.
Thank you very much. Roger, it's been wonderful having you join us today. And on behalf of the HRD Forum Personnel Management of Nigeria, I'd like to present this as a token of our appreciation for the wonderful intervention that you made today and what you delivered in the morning is in recognition of your outstanding contribution as a guest speaker at the 2026 CEO and CHRO and HRD Forum. It was nice having you, and we look forward to partnering. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sirs. While we'll retain the President and Chairman of Governance Council on stage, is also going to be presenting the plaque to Dr. Funke Adepoju, Director General, Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, ASCON, ably represented by Ms. Oluwatoyin Naiwo, FCIPM, Chartered FCIPD. A round of applause for Dr. Funke Adepoju, ably represented.
Okay, this is presented in the deepest appreciation of Dr. Funke Adepoju, DG of ASCON's presentation to us today, giving us a perspective of what happens or what obtains in the public service around DEI and belongingness. This is to appreciate her for our outstanding contribution as a guest speaker at the 2026 CEO and CHRO and HRD Forum. Please convey our deepest gratitude to her, as I know you will do. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Please, can we celebrate both of them? Thank you very much as I take pictures and then walk majestically to the seats. Please join me as I invite the immediate past president, Mr. Olusegun Mojid, FCIPM, FNLI. Thank you very much, sir. The President and Chairman of Governance Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobe, FCIPM, FNLI, as he walks majestically to his seat. In the same order, please welcome with me the immediate past president, Mr. Olusegun Mojid, FCIPM, FNLI, as he presents the plaque to Dr. Colin NM, FCIPM, Vice President, HR West Africa, ISON Experiences.
Hello. Thank you, my brother. In grateful appreciation, we present this to you, Dr. Colin NM, FCIPM. Okay. In recognition of your outstanding contribution as a panelist at the 2026 CEO, CHRO, HRD, and I had the CE adding the HOS and the PSCs to it. That's a good one. Your expertise and insightful presentation have profoundly enriched our event and inspired all in attendance. Sincerely, thank you very much. Thank you for this.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dr. Colin, and the immediate past president, Mr. Olusegun Majid. Yes, thank you very much as it walks majestic back to the seat. Please, I'd like to invite Mr. DME Ajayi, FCIPM, Chartered FCIP, the National Treasurer of this amazing institute, as it comes to present the plaque to the moderator of this panel, Dr. Michael Womazino Ogo, MCIPM. Please can we celebrate them as they come on stage?
On behalf of the president and all members present here, I present it to you, Dr. Michael Ogo, MCIPM, as moderator of this panel session. Thank you very much for the insights.
All right, thank you very much. Before we move quickly into a partnership value session, I'd like to recognize quickly the Director General of NYSC, Brigadier General O.O. Nafio, ably represented by Mrs. Elabo Grace, Acting Director, NYSC Southwest Area Office 2. Please can we celebrate our Mrs. Elabo Grace? Thank you very much for coming, ma'am. In that same order, I'd also like to recognize the state coordinator of NYSC Lagos State, Mrs. Samwag Christiana. Thank you very much, ma'am, for coming. That's the state coordinator, NYSC Lagos State Branch. Please join me to welcome Mr. Olumide, founder of Metaphor, an indigenous product design company, as it comes to present a partnership value session in the next 3 minutes to every one of us. Please, a round of applause to Mr. Olumide.
Thank you very much for a very capable MC. Good morning to you all. Good morning. Before we start, I have a short video that I'd like to play. Right. Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank our President, Mr. Malam Gober, Able Registrar and CEO, Oluwatoyin Nairo, and our esteemed guests, individuals here today, here at the CIPM. Please, can we have a round of applause for ourselves and everybody involved? A quick question for you. When you're not in the room, who is doing the talking for you? What makes your audience remember you? My name is Olumide, and I'm the founder of Metaphor Solutions. We're a creative technology company, and we create memorable products that keep you top of mind in the heads of your customers, as you saw in the video. It's a hard to ignore physical representation of yourself in their personal spaces. And that's the value we bring to you. We're based here in Lagos, and we handle an end-to-end service, all the way from design, products, prototyping, and mass manufacturing. We cut out the need for shipping, FX, and long lead times, and we give you value in your hands to give to your customers. I'm happy Dr. Funke spoke about AI and technology. because this is a perfect chance for you to tap into it and make it work for you. So whether you're having a 50th milestone representation, you're trying to recognize your employees for their hard work, you're holding a conference, you're launching a new product, or you're trying to close a sale, you need a product that's going to do the work for you. We've made products for various sectors, as you've seen, banking, sports, real estate, polo, FMCG, oil and gas. And the idea is, don't give out something generic and forgettable. We can take it a step further than the coffee mugs and the umbrellas. Create something unique for yourselves. Create something unique for your company. Don't be shoved away. Don't be dashed out. Be treasured and cherished by your customers. Create your own metaphor today. Thank you very much. You can find our contact details in the brochure, and I'm open to conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olumide. That's the founder of Metaphor. It's an indigenous product design company. Thank you very much. Has it been an interesting and amazing event so far? Has it been an amazing and interesting event so far? You know, it's been an amazing one. From the insights from all our guest speakers, still seated is Mr. Roger Ado, Managing Director of Friesland Campaigner, Wamco PLC Nigeria. Well, thank you very much for coming. It's been an awesome event, and I'd like to invite to stage the Vice President. I think she just stepped out a bit. Okay, while we wait for Madam Vice President. Okay, she's already coming. All right. I'd like to invite the Vice President of this institute, Mrs. Chidima Opiejese, FCIPM, as she comes up on stage to give the vote of thanks. A round of applause for Madam Vice President, Mrs. Chidima Opiejese, FCIPM.
Thank you so much, our MC. It's been an interesting day today of learning, you will agree, discussing diversity and inclusion in the workplaces from the HR and CEO's perspective. Interesting, two powerhouse, distinguished President and Chairman of Governing Council, members of leadership and other members of council here present, our esteemed speakers, the CEOs, CHROs, and HR directors here present, and like they added, HOS and PEMSEX here present too. Our partners and colleagues, good afternoon. I believe okay, it's still 2 minutes to 12, so I will say good day to all of you. And even those online, whether you are here in Nigeria or whatever timeline you are in, good day to everyone. It is an absolute honor and privilege to stand before you today to say thank you. At the conclusion of this incredible high impact forum, today we successfully bridged the gap between executive strategy and human capital execution, examining diversity and inclusion, not merely as a corporate buzzword, but as a critical business imperative. Like we have heard the speakers and panelists say, inclusiveness is key if our businesses must succeed. To anchor today's conversation, I am reminded of a powerful quote by the renowned leadership expert, Stephen Covey. He says, strength lies in differences, not in similarities. Today, our speakers and panelists have beautifully demonstrated how we can harness these differences to drive innovation, equity, and sustainable business growth. On behalf of the President and Chairman of Governing Council, of our institute, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, I would like to express our deepest appreciation to everyone who made today a resounding success that it has been. Our distinguished speakers, Mr. Roger Philip Ato, and Dr. Mrs. Funke Adepoju, and our panelists, Dr. Colin Denning. Thank you very much. FCIPM, Doctor. Thank you for your profound, thought-provoking insights, your ability to dissect diversity and inclusion from the strategic lens of the CEO's office, coupled with the practical execution and empathetic lens of HR, has given us a clear roadmap for the future. Our CEOs and CHROs and directors here in attendance, thank you for prioritizing this forum despite your incredibly busy schedules. Your presence and active engagement proved that leading-edge organizations in Nigeria are truly ready to move from diversity representation, both in our organizations and boardrooms, to genuine lived inclusion. Please, can you celebrate yourselves? The president and our entire leadership, I want to say thank you for your visionary leadership and unwavering support in ensuring that the Institute remains the definitive voice on people management and institutional authority. Our organizing committee, the Public Policy and Advocacy Committee, ably represented by our own Dr. Arabi here seated. Thank you so much, sir. And the entire secretariat led by the CE. To the dedicated team and who worked tirelessly behind the scene from the planning phase to the seamless execution we just witnessed here today. We say a big thank you to all of you. I salute your commitment to excellence, and this is highly commendable. As we live here today, let us remember that refocusing diversity and inclusion is not a one-time initiative. It is a continuous journey of intentional leadership. Let us take the strategies that have been shared, the challenging perspectives we have listened to, and the collaborative spirit built in this room today back to our respective boardrooms and workplaces. I want to say thank you, everyone, including the moderator of this panel session, the MCs, the IT team, members of press. Let me say thank you, all of you, for your time, your insights, your dedication to building better and more inclusive organizations. I would not want to take much of our time. Breakfast is served. I wish you all a safe journey back to your respective destinations. And for those of us online, I wish you a beautiful remainder of the day. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless you all, and do have a nice day ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ma. Just quickly, that's Madam Vice President, Mrs. Chidima BJC, FCIPM. Please, can we celebrate her? Thank you very much, Ma. It's been a privilege serving as your MC for today. My name is Iberia Yamo, ACIPM, and it's been a privilege serving every one of us here. Quickly, thank you very much, Ma. Thank you very much. Quickly, I'd like to announce that would want to appreciate our sponsors. You can see them towards my right here. We have Metaphor, we have Peak Yogurt Drink. We're just, if you've had what is it, a carton of Peak Yogurt, please just wave your hands. If you've had some, my God, so yummy, so delicious. I love it, right? We have Sunbeth Global Concept, Lotus Capital, we have Leadways, we have Site Savers, we have Philip Outsourcing, we have Mark Health. Please, if you've not checked your vitals, kindly make your way outside the reception. You can check your vitals. You can also inquire more about your health. Quick announcement. We love this. You will love this announcement. I promise you. Breakfast is going to be served. And we have 2 service points. We have one just behind us here, just down the hall, and then one at my right. And once you make your way outside the exit, the ushers will be glad to show you your way to the breakfast. Just one thing I'd like to ask you, please let the eye table on leadership, our guest speakers, and elected council members here. Please let them make their way to the breakfast service point, after which every one of us can then please use the service point for our breakfast. It's been an amazing, auspicious event, and I'd like to say thank you very much for coming. I'd like us to be on our feet as we take the national pledge. The media would help us. All right, 1 to go. Thank you very much for coming and attending the 2026 CEO CHRO HRD Forum. Please, I'd like you to network, meet people, exchange business cards. We still have amazing people in our midst, Mrs. Amina Oyabola, FCIPM, the founder of Riska. We have a lot of dignitaries in the room. Let's meet them. The president and chairman of Governing Council is ever ready to take pictures with us. You can meet them. And thank you very much.
Bigger, bolder, and more transformational than ever before. Welcome to the CIPM 58th International Conference and Exhibition ICE 2026. A gathering of visionaries, industry leaders, innovators, decision makers, and future-focused professionals shaping the next era of work and business success. Join us from the 21st of September to 24th, 2026 in the vibrant city of Abuja, Nigeria for 4 unforgettable days of learning, networking, innovation, exhibitions, and transformational conversations. Enjoy exclusive group discounts for registration of 10 or more physical delegates, because transformation is even more powerful when experienced together. The future belongs to professionals who are ready to evolve, organizations ready to lead, and visionaries ready to create impact. Do not just watch the future happen, be part of the movement, repositioning for value and impact. Register now at www.cipmnigeria.org/conference.
I welcome you all to greatness. I welcome you all to brilliance. Welcome to history in the making.
The workplace is changing faster than ever before. Over 70% of organizations globally are struggling to adapt to the future of work. In a world driven by innovation, disruption, and transformation, only those who reposition strategically will create lasting value and real impact. This is why Africa's leading HR and people management gathering is back, bigger, bolder, and more transformational than ever before. Welcome to the CIPM 58th International Conference and Exhibition ICE 2026. A gathering of